So there's this moment in Near Automata. No. There's this moment in Alex McCullough's video on A Beautiful Song, the song played during the Simone fight, where he points out something really funny about the machines. Uh, no, there's this moment in Alex McCullough's video on Serpent Eating the Horizon. I think it's actually Serpent Eating the Ground, but both titles lead to the same track, so I don't know. Where he's blind reacting to the song and is just genuinely in awe of it, like stunned by the sheer amount the song travels. Having never played the game before, from like phrase to phrase, each one seemingly wildly disconnected, but blending seamlessly into each other. This video is kind of my trash. Like, I don't know enough about music theory, as is well established by now, to weigh in on McCullough's insights, so I'm not going to, but there's a problem. This isn't about this video. There's actually this video from Marco Meatball, opera singer reacts Kaine Salvation Near Replicant, where he introduces the video by pleading with us to divorce the music entirely from the character, from the game. He does this about Final Fantasy XIV too, and explains that video game music was his means to connect to more classical composers. He gives like really fluffy comments about the marveling of how pretty Kaine's song is. He makes a great statement about how he likes that they decided to go in the direction of using a made-up language. I don't want to sound like I'm dunking on the guy. He's a trained opera singer and he likes Final Fantasy. Like, I really don't have a leg to stand on. But, well, this video is kind of about this. About this video, this guy's plea, Alex McCullough's fascination with Serpent Eating the Ground Horizon, about his disconnect about Nier Automata, about sound designers, composers, singers, musicians blind reacting to video game music. Oh, and AI art. Welcome to the season finale of year 5. Is it year 5? I've been doing this for 5 years. Fucking kill. So the good news and bad news is that there is a much older, richer history about AI art generated from a constructed intelligence going back into the 1960s with programmer Harold Cohen and his invention named Aaron. But Aaron created art without any human input, no images or prompts or anything like that. And if I'm here at the tail end of 2022 talking about AI art, this clearly doesn't fit the bill. Sorry, Harold Cohen. If only the idea of generative art posing like a deeper, more profound question about the relationship art facilitates between medium creator and audience had room at this table. Surely it's an interesting question on its own and not at all foreshadowing for some kind of horrible nightmare. The actual start of the story will kind of have to start with Dolly, which launched apparently in January 2021, and that's either when the mimetic Dolly prompt started showing up and time has collapsed, or it happened in this year. Who the fuck knows? Time collapsed in 2020 when the pandemic started. It was back in June, actually. According to this Polygon article, it was back in June. Back in the time, this was mostly just like dumb meme stuff. You put in a silly idea that no one would really want to commit real time and labor to and see like 9 horrific nightmare images. This, in my opinion, was supposed to be like the humble beginning and end of the concept of AI art. Like the marvel of it was at its purest, and it filled a unique niche that artists like I'm sure you could commission an artist to do this, but why? The point is in reveling in the miscommunication. Like if you wrote in like Saul Goodman defends Edelgard von Fire Emblem in court to an artist, they'll likely ask like follow-up questions, negotiate a game plan, set it in motion, blah 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 blah. But you go to Dolly because it's funny to see it make nightmare fuel, trying desperately to understand your intent. I kind of stopped caring about AI art for a while after this because like I don't know, it seemed open and shut. And then I want to say it was this tweet that pulled me back into thinking about it. This is Suhail. Suhail is the founder of Playground AI, a site where, within moments of scrolling through AI-generated images, found one of Kylie Jenner fully naked, vagina out. Suhail's tweet about this astronaut girl was a turning point in the conversation here when he says that there is no doubt in my mind that making AI art is real art. I spent about 1.5 hours tweaking things to produce these visuals. The hair, perfect red lipstick color, focus, eyes, wrinkles, theme, reflections, clothes. It was a joy to achieve a result I couldn't have previously. He goes on to detail his methodology to achieve such a triumph. When making AI art, you spend tons of time iterating on possibilities, tweaking, finding new variants until you find the perfect shot, kind of like using a camera to take many photos during a photo shoot. And then the image showing this process has exactly two funny things, one of which is the text prompt he used to make his masterpiece. A lady below a red glow gate cyberkinetic armor galaxy eye snowflake falling portrait 30mm lens bokeh wide angle soft gaze trending on ArtStation sharp focus studio photo intricate details highly detailed by Greg Rukowski. The other funny thing is that he put an image for the AI to base this off of, and that's really the big sticking point in this debate. The idea proposed by AI art advocates is that this enables people to have access to their creative vision, like that one guy in Playground AI who just generates incredibly horny art of Kylie Jenner, without having to be crushed by the inconvenience of commissioning an artist. After all, why commission Rukowski when you can put his name into a generator enough times to get your girl pretty enough? Opponents predominantly make the argument that this is theft, that this is stealing other people's work, this is using people's art, editing it a little, and repackaging it as your own. There's a lot of conversation to be had about these ideas, about ownership of art, and the methods AI art strip and tarnish hardworking artists. Like Rukowski himself said in an interview that he knew that this trend would attach AI art to his name almost irrevocably. This isn't even getting into the kind of sinister constructions from sites like DeviantArt, who rely on its users not meticulously reading the TOS agreements they sign and now get to retroactively put its user base's art into AI learning. Here's the thing, though. Entering into this debate on the grounds of markets, brands, IP laws, ownership, this can all get pretty murky pretty fast. Even basic legal concepts like fair use and parity are already complicated, nebulous nightmares when it gets down to it because our legal system is a living hell, and the concept of using a program to generate something that's evocative of an artist's style without it being original work they created, like, I don't know. Like, if Disney got away with stealing Kimba, this is going to be an uphill battle on these terms. And on the other hand, the other big argument that this can't be considered art, which seems to be an argument that, like, it definitely seems like it's more that AI artists are having it with an imagined opponent, but that's like the Aaron thing, right? Like, sure, it could be fun to pretend to have a deep ethical conversation about whether or not a computer editing images of cyberkinetic armor, or whatever that is, can count as something made by an artist, but that's an argument that's entirely disconnected. Like, the people touting this argument aren't calling the programs artists, they're calling themselves the artists by providing the program with a dozen highly detailed prompts and a reference image for it to trace, and Aaron worked without any human intervention. That interesting conversation simply doesn't exist here. Whoops. So, the legal economics issue is worrying and convoluted, and the philosophical perspective is kind of an oil and water situation. So, what's left? I'm going to be honest. I actually have no interest in talking about these issues of brands and ownership in art in general, much less in regards to this topic, partially for my own opinions on IP laws, but also because that's a stopgap measure. Like, AI art has a deeper economic goal here, and litigating them is only going to make those who stand to profit by generating stock music, photos, promotional art, marketing displays, etc., find loopholes until they get what they want. The issue I have is what it speaks to about our relationship with art. So, I don't wanna get through this topic without shaming anyone because, like, I'm guilty of, like, all of this too, and I don't think it's just that people are garbage or anything like that. I think our relationship to the internet has promoted some kind of, kind of shitty impulses that by themselves are whatever. Like, it's okay to listen to just the chorus of a song you like, or watch someone marvel at a blind look at a song, or be like Hank Green marveling at cool AI art generations knee-deep in this hotbed of angry people. Like, come on, man. But it is the promotion of this, the fact that these things gain traction, become memes, that we trust so much of our art curation to computers, blindly trying to interpret what we mean when we ask them to show us Edelgard getting defended in court by Saul Goodman. That speaks to something a little upsetting to me, I think. Again, I'm guilty of this too. Like, I've never played Nier, Replicant, Gestalt, or Classic until I recorded the B-roll for this video, but I listened to Emil and Kaine's themes because well, okay, because they showed up in Final Fantasy XIV, but because I kind of get what Mr. Meatball was saying in that video I was dunking on. Like, kind of the point of the chaos language is to divorce us from extracting information out of the text as a necessary part of the listening experience, right? Like, let's take it over to the song Peaceful Sleep from the Nier game I have played. A part of it genuinely is that the singing is beautiful. Like, these games put a lot of focus on intimacy with the singer. You feel close to them in a way where words aren't really necessary to convey what we're feeling here. But part of the song is also these moments where I feel myself back at this camp, having just done something horrible. You know, the first quest you have to do in the game requires you to kill non-hostile machines. They don't tell you to do this explicitly. Like, there's very little vocal weight on the premise of running up to a patch of machines hanging out nearby and fucking obliterating them, but it's a necessary part of the arrangement. Like, that is the heart of Nier Automata that I feel often gets overlooked. The game is, on one hand, definitely about these big questions about what it means to be human, and also it's like a Philosophy 101 course, but it is the relationship to these ideas that make them so vivid and painful to be in. You know that the game is expounding on these concepts, but no one in these games seemed to even bother to comment on it. We're not here to watch 2B and 9S have a deep, meaningful debate about whether or not machines have souls. They go on these journeys divorced from us. So, like, yeah, Alex, it is weird that Simone has this really heartfelt, emotionally crushing song, even though they're only machines. That's the game. There are philosophies prominently toyed with and featured in this game through our adversaries, but they're fighting for their own ideals, their own existences, their own meanings, and we can consume what they mean to us, but that isn't what they're here to do in the narrative itself. Like, this is my double whammy surprise. Like, I usually make videos about art and sneak political ideas into them, and now I've made one about a current event, and it's also kind of a video on Nier Automata, fuck you. The point is that this song isn't here simply to exist in a vacuum, to marvel at it, to look up the translation for the lyrics and go, wow, I guess Emil's song is about him being lonely. It's also a part of something bigger. Like all of these songs are. That Bravely Default song is weighty and cool and epic, but it's also the final boss theme, and it incorporates the game's main theme in it along with each character's leitmotifs, not just to be a wicked flex, though the fact that Riva does this live is absolutely a flex, but because the Ouroboros, the serpent eating the horizon ground, is consuming every iteration of the world we've traveled to, all of which are connected to each other to create a circle. Tiz, Agnes, Ringabel, Adia, this world, everyone we've met, everything we've fought against, all converge together at once in this song, and that is what strikes me about it. And that's my issue here. Like, I don't know, I'm the art freak. I don't want to contribute to the long-running market debate here. My issue is that this carnal desire to extract the best bits out of a piece of art is like the time an old roommate of mine and I tried to make lemonade without water, because, like... Okay, like, so the bit at the end of, like, a glass of lemonade when it's all, like, lemon and sugar that didn't mix into the water fully was all so good, so, like... we made a bunch of lemon juice and poured a thing of it into like a thing of sugar, and the results were, well, we both figured out why you add water to the equation, right? Like, lemonade works because mixing water, sugar, and lemon juice, and I guess pulp together creates like a variety of experiences. It gets to be cold and refreshing and sweet and a little tart, and if you mixed it inefficiently, you get a little hint of lemony sugar at the end, and it's great. Just trying to get that one bit out of it, like, hits a really grotesque moral intersection. Like, you're not a bad person for wanting this, but is it the kind of indulgent impulse that should have an entire industry built around providing? Like what's the end result in all of this? The store starts selling lemon sugar in packets? Like, are we gonna build a community around people looking at people's art, their albums, their novels, their paintings, games, films, and say, what we need to do is reduce, to strip out the boring bits until it's all maximum impact. It's removing ugly out of a picture you like. It's clipping and cutting songs until it's just the chorus or the drop. It's begging us to pull Kaine out of her own song to marvel at the one flavor, this one pretty song, and not why it belongs to her. And yet, I don't know. Is that it? It gets hard to really decouple these arguments from the most popular and predominant battlegrounds here, but it's encouraging perspectives that I am brushing up against poorly in almost every direction possible. The mechanics of AI art generation itself isn't really the problem, and I think that one tension in this is that going at it with the art theft angle is kind of Short-sighted? Please let me finish. There's a push to fight this in the courts, as I've explained, and that's only going to make it easier for people to attack forms of art that we've already accepted as meaningful expressions. Sampling, collages, the act of taking someone's finished product and turning parts of it into your own art is something we already do and largely do without complaint. And the effort to push this narrative won't stop the proliferation of AI art and will also make life even harder for people artists. On the other hand, I've worried and am now returning to what I thought was a finished script because the idea of art for maximum impact as this concept antithetical to the very soul of art is also not pleasant. It's okay to make this kind of stuff, to make vines and TikToks and clip JoJo openings, so please stop making them 60 frames per second. They're so ugly at 60 FPS. And while I feel that in my soul this is what predominant AI artists want and are doing, it just doesn't sit right, does it? And that's, well, so there's this absolute crime of a Polygon article. In 10 years, gamers will use AI prompts to build what they play. I hate it. It's written by the guy who was the lead on one of the Assassin's Creed games I've never played before, but he envisions a future where people are paying for AI programs to read prompts and create games, films, particularly the 1993 film Demolition Man. He talks about it the entire time, but in his envisioned 10 years from now future, we'll be asking our phones to make us Demolition Man, but directed by Jordan Peele and starring Lil Nas X and Millie Bobby Brown. And this envisioned future sucks. The intent, the idea of having programs that can take our suggestions and make things, that's whatever. But it's this fixation on art as stagnant things that we're going to be in a position where a decade from now, we're just using technology to recreate our pasts over and over. It feels incurious in a way that's hard to describe. We already live sort of in this world. Most popular titles of films, TV shows, video games, etc. have legacy titles stitched to them. An increasing number of these products are turning into remakes, reboots, reimagining. Ghostbusters but with women, Ghostbusters but with a secret woman, Spider-Man, Spider-Man again, Spider-Man again, Spider-Man, but it's a commentary on there being two other previous Spider-Mans, the second less cool time they did that. And I want to keep this tirade going, but I don't even necessarily believe it, right? I'm sorry that this video is so confused, but I don't like taking dogmatic, hardline stances against things' capacity to be art on some level. Some remakes are good, or at least fun, and an over-reliance on nostalgia is annoying, but it's not like there's no more new art anymore. It's hard to thread the needle of this sucks, but not broadly. And circling back to the Polygon article, I think it's a matter of perspective that I disagree with. There are two kinds of artists: creators who make nouns beautifully, and performers who do verbs beautifully. Most artists are at least a bit of both. The last century, with the rise of broadcast media culture, the industrialization of entertainment, and centralized control over the economics of created artifacts, creators have benefited enormously compared to performers. But this is a historical anomaly. For the first 10,000-ish years of human culture, the balance was reversed, and the correction has been underway since Napster torpedoed the music industry below the waterline, and the concept of albums intended to be listened to linearly on discs made of plastic stopped making sense. I'm going to pause the script here just for a second because performance is creation, and I don't bring that up later on in this essay. I just wanted to say I don't know what this guy is talking about when he talks about two kinds of artists. I don't mean to dunk unnecessarily, but what the fuck? This combo of sentences sucks a lot, but it's revealing in the perspectives at play. So I've tried really, really hard to not talk about the capitalism problem in this AI art debate, but it keeps on coming back, and at the heart of its biggest proponents are this, right? Putting aside concepts of ownership here, we are debating broadly with a group of people who fundamentally understand art as product, art as a collection of bespoke cogs implemented into a machine, and disrupting that perceived machine means they're doing bold new art. The idea of listening to particular songs departed from an album it didn't come from Napster. I'm a fucking millennial and I still know what a mixtape is. Like, there's something upsetting in this to me, and it isn't dogmatic, sweeping, universal. It's not the concept of who gets to own art, or even the foresight that big corporations are absolutely going to make advertising look ugly as hell for years to come because of this, but that we live in a cultural biome that has to give these people a seat at the table. I hold fast to the principle that nothing can't become art given the proper context, but it bothers me that these guys only perceive art through the machinations of the market, as a product they can dismantle like a watch and reconstruct as a perfect watch. I want to talk about AI art, really. Like, I want to talk about Harold Cohen's idea of AI art, the idea of finding meaning in something a computer generated by itself, but instead, we have to pretend that the same people who were breathlessly trying to sell us the revolutionary concept of making all video games terrible through NFTs call themselves artists because they got a fancy program to gently rub our beautiful human imperfections out of our drawings, our music, hell, our writing and storytelling. Like, yes, I am an angry, aggrieved, precious artist. Yes, I work hard for my very, very small platform, but I fucking love art. I love our endless potential to create and express. I find joy in imperfections. And frankly, I spent the majority of my channel admiring and loving art made by massive, uncaring corporations, because even that can't completely stomp out creativity. And AI art won't either. Hey, really quickly, just before I wrap things up and take you over to the patron credits, I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Gilgamesh Up, who last minute, literally, like, this is the day that the video is coming out, and I asked him if, like, he'd be willing to, like, do Saul Goodman defending Edelgard von Fire Emblem in court. And like I was willing to like to delay the release of the video to like get this in because I thought it'd be nice to like have. And he whipped it up in like a few hours and it looks great. Like, Gil is perfect. Please I've linked his card in the description of the video. Please follow him everywhere and anywhere you can and commission him, please. Okay, credits go. Special thanks to Alexi Angelica, Caitlin Fisher, Colleen T., Dector A., the Bluebird Counseling Group, Lewis Wells, Low Res, Maria Aladren, Alistair V., Mozzie VT, Natalie Cease Lane, Nurai the Redmarked, Nomadic Raven, Professor Bopper, Rach, Saint Rawberry, Thomas Wolpez, and Zetetic. Thank you all so much.